Okay everyone, welcome back to another video on the channel. Today we're back on iRacing. Now we've been streaming iRacing for a few weeks now, doing the odd race every week, and this was one of my first races back on the game. It was the first stream I had done where I actually did a race, and we were driving the 488 GT3 Fixed series. So it's a single make race, everyone's in the same car, everyone's using the default setup. I think you could change the brake bias slightly. I don't think I did though. I might have moved it one click, I can't remember. But we managed to qualify for this race. I think this was the second race on stream into P4, which wasn't too bad. We were about 3-4 attempts off the pole time in the top split race. So for me that was quite an achievement, coming back to the game off quite a long gap. Not playing for I think nearly 9 months or so, and just getting back into the stride with the game, qualifying into P4. Really happy with that. So now the aim really was to hold on to P4, because I didn't expect to go forward in this race. Obviously the consistency's still not there, the race pace isn't quite there. You can see this is one thing I love about iRacing though, is the starts, proper rolling starts, not a GT Sports auto start system. This is all about proper, you know, rolling start. You have to be on it, and you can see at the start I actually didn't quite get on the gas in time, and they got a bit of a jump on me. P5 nearly overtakes me on the inside. I managed to hold the car round the outside though, decided to take that wide line, battled P5 all the way down through the fast corners now, and actually held on to that P4 position just about there. You can see a lot of battling going on in the background. I think a few cars might have had a bit of contact there as well, but managing to hold on to P4, which was really important for myself, because I felt like I could have the speed. This track is notoriously quite hard track to overtake on. It's not the easiest track. There's no real long straight for slipstream. So if I could hold on to this P4 after lap 1, there was going to be a chance that I could stay in P4 all the way to the end. So you can see behind a group of cars, we've got four cars in the train behind myself, and a bit of a gap developing to P3 already. I did obviously lose quite a bit of time on the start. However, I don't think I had the pace really to stay with them. I think if obviously I was playing the game all the time, I would have had the pace to match or be around the pace of the leaders. I did notice there were some drivers in the lead pack that I did used to race with, fairly equal type of speed, but now obviously back on the game, a little bit off speed. So the aim over the next few months is obviously going to be to slowly pick up the speed. Obviously I'm not going to be on the game as much as I used to be, because I play a lot of GT Sport now as well. So I'm just trying to get on this game maybe 2 times a week, keep the practice coming in, keep getting used to the game, and if I can get more time on the game, I will try and get on the game more. But I will try and do this series as much as possible, as well as the GT3 series and the IMSA series. Trying to mix it up. Not really worried about completing 8 races in each series. I just want to do the rounds that I like the look of as much as possible, and possibly buying some new cars along the way, including the F3, but I think I'm going to need to wait for the V3 pedals, because I've had some information from some people that the braking is quite sensitive on that car with no ABS obviously. So might wait for the V3 pedals before I can, obviously once I can afford to get the V3 pedals, then I'll start doing different series as well, and probably get back into the Porsche Cup racing when I get the V3 pedals, because I really did enjoy driving that car. But you can see up ahead now, a bit of a gap developing, but P5 behind me is putting me under quite a lot of pressure. You can see him. We've got the camera in the top left hand corner riding on board with P5 there. Through the chicane though, I was able to actually pull a little bit of a gap quite a lot of the time. Able to carry a little bit more speed through the corner, but through this final corner you can see we take very different lines. He was taking a very early entry into the corner, and I was taking a much wider entry into the corner and trying to get on the power a little bit earlier. I was having to try and drive a little bit defensive in terms of increasing my exit speed from the corners. Again, very similar on this final corner. I was trying to make sure that I was always getting good exit speed, so that in any positions where he might be able to think to make an overtake, it was going to make it hard for him. As we run on board now with P5, you can see he's having a little look up on the inside. Again, I go very wide there and increase the speed I can take through the corner. It just avoids him really being able to make any sort of move into that corner. He's just not really close enough to go for that move. So some good defensive driving so far, keeping the car where I needed to, trying not to make any mistakes. You can see I'm not 100% confident with this. Was my first ever race with this car, to be fair, and obviously driving with the default setup, it's not always ideal, but I actually really enjoyed this car with the default setup. It was really enjoyable to drive, a really fun series to do. I wish the races were a little bit longer than they are. I think it's a 15-minute sprint race for this series, and I think maybe a 20-minute race would have been a little bit better, but I suppose it's a bit of variety on iRacing. A lot of the other races are a lot longer, so maybe it's a nice refreshing change from some of the other series that are run on iRacing. But you can see, again, going through the chicane, you can see that I actually increased the gap on the exit of that corner. I seem to be able to just carry a little bit more speed than P5 through there. But then again, on the braking, you can see he seems much more confident on the brakes than I am. Possibly the brake mod that I've installed since doing these races might help me out a bit in certain areas on certain corners. I think that it might, because I was probably putting too much brake pressure in and keeping too much brake pressure on 100%, whereas now I've got the brake mod on, so it's a lot easier to release down to, say, 70, 60, 50% brake pressure, and trail braking should be a little bit better in a way. But you can see, again, going through that corner, managing to pick up that wider line and get a nice solid exit from the corner as we run on board with myself again, going down the hill through the really fast corners. And again, he's just not really able to get close enough. You can see we're actually building a bit of a gap up at the moment to P6, but P1, 2 and 3 have gone off in the distance. I can't really, you can see them there, they're just going through the corners there. I just can't really match their speed, and it would be too risky for me to even try and push even close to their type of speed. I think if I tried to gain 3-4 attempts a lap, I would probably be binning it and ending up crashing out, which is not what I want to do on my return to iRacing. You know, first race is back. I just want to finish these races and try and avoid losing too much iRating. I want to try and maintain enough iRating to keep in the top splits. I was on 4.8, nearly 5k when I first came back to the game a while ago, but we had a few races where we lost quite a big amount of iRating as we go into the race. And you can see P5 goes for a move. I went defensive, and then he goes to try and go around the outside, which is never going to work at that corner at Donnington Park. You can see that as he goes around the outside, all he gets is a lot of understeer. He's not able to get on the power, and then I get a much better exit, and again managing to hold on to this position for another lap. And as I was saying, when we did come back to the game about 9 months ago, we did a few races. We lost quite a big chunk of iRating through some incidents that weren't really our fault. It was other drivers hitting us and wiping us out. I think you saw the video when Lando took us out. I lost quite a lot of iRating in them 3 or 4 races that I did. Didn't come back on the game for 9 months. Come back this time, and we're actually maintaining. We have lost a bit. I think we lost a chunk when we got took out at Monza. I think if you would have watched that on the live stream, you would have seen I got hit on lap 5 from the driver behind, missing his braking, which was a bit annoying. But we managed to get an okay finish and a race after that, and actually increase the iRating slightly. So we're not losing massive amounts of iRating. I think we're still over 4k. I want to try and keep it at least to late 3s, low 4s for a few months, and then I think I can, once I get the V3 pedals, I can concentrate on increasing the speed and the consistency in the racing, hopefully pushing forward a little bit more and increasing the iRating. But for the first few months, it's all going to be about getting back used to the cars, the tracks, getting used to the game again, because I'm not playing it every day. I'm playing it maybe 2 to 3 times a week at most. And you can see in this race still, I'm actually doing okay. I'm doing a reasonable job. Obviously, this isn't the most competitive series, but there's still some fast drivers in here on iRacing that, you know, if I can manage to hold on to P4, it's a great result for myself, you know, for a first race back. And considering I was streaming at the same point, at the same time as well, so it's always a little bit more added pressure when you're streaming live to try and keep that consistency. But you can see the track's clouded over. One feature that I really love since coming back to iRating is the new dynamic obviously time of day system with the clouding over the track. The track changes grip levels depending on the cloud coverage and stuff like that. I love all that. It's so nice to have that feature added to iRacing since I've come back. And you can see I've actually built up a little bit of a lead at the moment. P5 seems to be struggling a little bit. I don't know whether he had an issue on a couple of the corners, but I've gave myself a little bit of a cushion with some really nice tidy laps that we've been doing in the last few laps, and now we're looking quite comfortable at this stage. However, P5 is obviously going to come back at us as the race gets closer towards the end. But you can see the lead drivers up ahead. You can see that they're still within touching distance. They're not pulling away massively into the distance. They're just about 4 or 5 seconds up ahead at the moment. We're about midway, coming up to midway through the race, just trying to keep it consistent. Again, going through that chicane, driving reasonably okay and taking quite a lot of speed through there. I was able to carry speed, but I seem to be losing a lot of time on this corner and the final corner, and I think a lot of it's to do with my braking. But like I say, hopefully that'll be sorted out.
when we go back onto and try the Ferrari Fixed series at a different track with the new brake mod that I've installed onto the Thrustmaster TGT wheel that I use. Obviously it's a Gran Turismo wheel, but it does work exceptionally well on iRacing. I was really impressed with the force feedback, much better than the T500's feedback, and obviously all the controls on that wheel work on iRacing, which is really handy. You've got all the dials and they work perfectly on iRacing. Now I couldn't really ask for a better wheel in terms of how many buttons you've got to work with, dials and everything. It really is a nice wheel to use on iRacing. But you can see P5 is gaining a bit again. You can see that he's increased the gap to P6 and he's starting to get a little bit closer. You can see in that top left hand corner as well, he's starting to reel me back in at the moment. So I'm just trying to keep it consistent, because at this stage of the race I kind of know that he's not going to be able to make him, he's going to find it very hard to get past me unless I make a mistake. If I keep it fairly clean, concentrate on getting good exits from corners and increasing the speed that I come out of the corner so that I've got more speed going into the braking zone, I think he's going to find it very hard to find the way past. And you can see he is getting a little bit closer, but again we're coming up to that chicane. Can we try and do it cleanly this time? In there, reasonably okay. Take quite a lot of speed for there, and again you can see I seem to pull away a bit on that corner every time, but then into the braking zone you can see how much time he gains. Look in that top right hand corner at the replay camera and you can see how much closer he gets. But again, I'm getting a little bit better exit speed, but he is gaining overall. But because I'm getting the better exit speed, he's not going to really get himself into a position to make an overtake. Although going into the final corner there, I actually got a little bit of a drift going and lost control of the car slightly, managed to hold on to it. As we run on board now with P5, you can see how much closer he's got through that mistake. And as the track actually brightens up a bit, as the cloud clears, you can see, again, going into that corner, he takes that earlier line, I take that wider line. But I'm able to hold on to the lead. It is such a hard track to overtake on this. Without the long straight, there's no real slipstream gain. Again, going into the braking, he's a little bit more aggressive on the brakes. But however, I'm concentrating on that exit speed. And as long as I keep driving like this, I don't think he's going to be able to make a move anywhere on the track. And one thing I love about iRacing is a mixture of camera angles. This view does really look great on the game, man. Actually being able to run on the cockpit view of other drivers is such a benefit. On GT Sport, they don't allow you to go in the cockpit of the other cars that are in the grid. You can only go in the cockpit view for your own car, which is a shame. I would love to be able to run on board from the cockpit from other cars to show the views from other cars as we go through races, and it's one thing we are able to do on iRacing, so it does look good. As again you can see how I increase that gap slightly going through the really fast chicane. I was really confident through there, but again look at the different lines we take through here. He goes really aggressive into the apex, but I concentrate on the exit speed, and again because I'm doing that, he's not able to get close enough into this corner to make a move. And then again I'm going to do a similar line. He goes very early into the apex, getting very close to the rear of my car, but I'm trying to get on the power as early as possible. He gets a very good exit on this go. He's going to possibly look to make an overtake. I might have to go a little bit defensive. You can see I'm thinking about it staying in the middle of the track, and at this time I'm going to take that early apex and try and still pick up a good exit speed from the corner. And again, I actually managed that really well, and he actually made a mistake. He got too early on the apex, trying to get a kind of an undercut, made a mistake and didn't really get the exit speed that he needed. So again, I'm able to increase that gap. So far, pretty much driving the perfect defensive race. P5 making a few errors every now and then when it comes to the points where he should possibly try and stay closer to me for when I next make a mistake maybe, but I think he was getting a little bit impatient. He was flashing his lights quite a lot through the race. Maybe he felt that he had a lot more speed, but I don't feel like he had a massive amount of speed that would have gained him much further up the track than I was, because the way the other drivers pulled off in the lead group seemed to have a lot more speed than the driver behind me. You can see when he drops back, he doesn't get straight back up to the rear of my car within like a few corners. It's taken him quite a while to get closer again, and he actually looks like he's coming under a threat now from the driver behind as we come closer to the end of this race now. And again, I actually hooked that corner up much better this time and actually keep that gap to P5 so that he's not able to make any sort of gains within the slipstream. And again, I take that different line through that corner. I think that's an area where I needed to work on. But obviously this was my first day on the race. This race had been on for quite a few days before I raced it. So a lot of these drivers that were racing have been doing it for a few days and had obviously been able to work on their race consistency, race pace. We just jumped on and actually performed reasonably well in the two races that I did. I think I did a good job, especially in this race. holding on to his position. Nearly a massive moment there. You could see on the cockpit camera, on the steering wheel, the oversteer that kicked in. I just about saved it and didn't lose too much time. You can see we're still maintaining the gap to P5. It's now P5, you can see in the distance there on the top right hand corner. He's actually coming under threat from P6, so this is good for me. This might be the chance I have to maintain this P4 position all the way to the end as we're coming through to the final few laps now. And again, you can see getting a nice solid exit from that corner. One corner, again another corner I was able to get quite a solid exit speed from. And then this corner, just trying to make sure I carry the speed all the way through the corner to ensure that he's not able to get close enough into. This is a corner where he was going to be able to make a move if he was ever going to go for a move, because he was so much later on the brakes and he took a much tighter line. But again, I go for that wider line, trying to square it off and trying to get on the power nice and early. And again, it seems to be working for me in terms of holding him off, although he does gain time on me. But look how close P6 is now to P5. It looks like they're going to be... He's going to have to start considering going defensive, which is going to help me out in a way, because he's not going to be able to drive as aggressive. And again, on the exit, he's made a little bit of a mistake. We're going to run on board now with P5. As he's following me, he's not really close enough to consider making a move on myself, but he's got a driver on the inside at this stage who's gone for a move on him. He's clipped the rear, and there's contact between P5 and 6, and that was a little bit unfortunate. It's kind of I think that was P6's fault. He kind of went for a move on the inside and just went in too aggressive. Not much P5 could do, and that's pretty much sealed this result for me, as long as I can just keep it on the track and not make a mistake. Now you can see the gap developing. I've got a strong enough gap now. This is the final lap of the race. The white flags are out. Obviously it's a timed race, 15 minutes, so this was the final lap, and now I know I've just got to keep it on the track and try and hold on to this P4 all the way to the end. So a good defensive driving. I kept the car on the track when I needed to. I kept it in the defensive positions when I needed to. Kept picking up that better exit speed than P5. And P5, I think, got a little bit of impatient sometimes. Made a few mistakes. Made himself vulnerable to P6 when I don't think he really should have been. And now he's obviously come into contact, but it wasn't his fault. Obviously that instant, P6 just went for the move on the inside and just tagged the rear part of P5's car, spinning him out. And luckily P5 actually managed to stay on the track and not lose a massive amount of time. And it was P6 that looked like he came off worst, but that kind of seemed fair because the move was a little bit harsh and a little bit aggressive in my view. As we go over the line, finish the race in P4, and a very solid result from myself. I'm really happy with that. I hope you enjoyed that quick return to iRacing. I wanted to upload this video because this was my first proper race back on the game for a long time in terms of an online race. I'd done practice sessions and I was really happy with that, to come home in P4 in a top split race on my first live stream. So if you enjoyed that video, make sure you give it a thumbs up. If you want to see more iRacing content, make sure you comment in the comment section. Let me know your feedback on the race, and we'll be doing more iRacing live streaming and videos as the weeks go on, along with GT Sport. So make sure you subscribe to the channel, click the notification button so you don't miss any future videos, and give this video a thumbs up if you did enjoy it. Thanks again for watching, everyone.